Like the fire, feel the beat. Gday Gridiron can't be beat. Nick your knee and bring the heat. Brad's the MVP elite. From the outback through the field, we got tackles hard to steal. Catch the passes, make it real. Gridiron warriors never kneel. Gday Gridiron, down under and beyond. Gday Gridiron, yeah, the podcast come on strong.
G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, and welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast, brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. It is the Week 6 game preview show where we go through amazing matchups that we have picked out of the Week 6 lineup to preview, give you some opinions and our thoughts on those. We also always end this preview show with bloody best bets, where we throw you some of the bets we're looking at for this week and see if you want to follow along and have a bit of fun with us and a bit of a tipple and make some money, possibly. Brad, how are you this evening?
I'm fantastic. Just coming off a slate of NFL games. I got to admit, so I had Monday off, and I got up early. I got up about 4:30, and I basically watched, I kid you not, I think NFL from, well, I watched every game. I watched the Red Zone channel, which I'm not normally, I don't do that, but I decided, no, I'm going to do it. So I watched the Red Zone channel for both games, and then I went straight into the Cowboys game for the Sunday night game. And so I watched a good, whatever it was, 12 hours of football on Monday. So, and I got done, and I was reading about football, and I was like, do I have a problem here? Am I obsessed with this?
Yes, and we're here to help you with.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you guys are here to hold me accountable, not encourage it, right?
This is the support group.
This is a support group for people who like to sit on their fat asses and watch football. Yes,
that's right.
How about you, Nick? Well, it was public holiday Monday in Australia. How did you fare?
On the Monday, I actually did work, but I
sucked in.
Was able. Well, I got the double time and a half, so I'm not complaining at all. So I was still able to watch a lot of the morning games anyway, and I had watched the first set of games and then now set on the second one. So yeah, but was a good round of games, but looking forward to this week. A lot of hard. It's another round. A lot of hard picks to make as well, and tipping once again, it's impossible. I think I've almost caved in on that because that's just impossible to get ahead.
Well, I did all right in tipping. I did all right on most things. I stayed up and watched the Vikings Jets game.
Did you? You stayed up?
Start to finish, I stayed up. I managed to watch the whole thing. I don't know how I managed it. I am usually very fast asleep by 11, and it started at 12:30 my time. So it's just
wow.
It was what it was. I was fucking tired by the end of it though, Brad, since it went so friggin' long. It was 4 o'clock. It was 4 a.m. by the time I hit the pillow. I may have nodded off for a quarter somewhere, I think. I didn't get to watch much football after that though, because we were actively packing cars and caravans and stuff to go away down to Mount Panorama, where I currently am now. So we're going to get on with this show and see what becomes of it for our game previews. Let's see if I don't drop out like the previous show, like our show earlier in the week.
That's all right. If you do, Nick and I will carry it, so all good.
We have the technology.
Yeah, we do actually. This amazing Riverside suite we use now. You guys can just carry on, and I can just jump back in. So it's pretty damn good. All right. Game previews. Game number 1 for this week. Commanders at Ravens. Washington Commanders have shown that they are one of the offenses and one of the teams to beat this season. Currently sitting at 4-1 in the standings. Their offense ever evolving under a great head coach. The Baltimore Ravens had a very slow start, but they have won their last 3. So this matchup seems to be one very, very interesting one. How are we feeling?
I think it's huge. I mean, think about it. In the AFC, who's the hottest team right now? I don't think it's Kansas City. They're undefeated, but I think the scariest team. If I had to play one team, it would not be the Ravens. I think they are just playing lights out ball right now. And this.
I thought you were talking about the Commanders, Brad.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. No. Talking about the Ravens.
Can't give them props.
But you think about it. Who is the genius at the NFL that pairs these two quarterbacks together? I mean, you couldn't ask for a better quarterback matchup than Lamar. Lamar is just playing unreal ball right now, and Jaden Daniels looks like the next version of Lamar. So it's if you love quarterback play, if you love that dynamic quarterback play, you want to watch this game and see what's going to happen. And this is one of my bloody best bets. But I'll wait for that till we get to the end. But yeah, this is going to be some really, really good quarterback play. Just watching the offenses go back and forth.
And on quarterbacks, isn't it funny that this time last season for this similar game, it would have been the Ravens. It would have been Lamar Jackson and Sam Howell versus where we are now. It's just chalk and cheese, Brad.
Yeah. And where's Sam Howell now? He's backing up Geno in Seattle. So and that's no knock on Sam Howell. I think Geno's playing pretty good ball. But nowhere near like Jaden Daniels. Who would have thought that guy would come in and do what he's doing? And hats off to Kingsbury. That guy got such a rap for being one-dimensional and just undynamic. And there's only as soon as the NFL figured him out, Kyler, when he was with Arizona, just his game stunk and all this and that. And he runs a college offense. And then he doesn't get he's brought into Chicago, doesn't get their OC position, even though he was Jaden Daniels' coach at USC. And, now here he is, and he was not Jaden Daniels at USC, but
Caleb Williams.
Thank you, Williams at USC.
Yeah.
And so now he comes in, and Daniels he's just lighting it up. And granted, the NFL is a long season, so he's got to continue to keep doing wrinkles. But that's what you're seeing in Daniel's game. That's the thing that I think is so impressive, is that it's not just the same offense from week one. You've seen the evolution of that offense.
No, week one they won a game by kicker alone.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. So
now they're averaging 31 points per game over the last 5 games.
Jeez.
Which is more than the Ravens.
Yeah. So it's just unreal what they're doing.
And it's interesting that you did bring up Kingsbury, and because I think his side of the ball, I feel like has been sort of underrated, even at his time at Arizona. I think a lot of it was overshadowed because their defense was so bad for so long. And even when they had that year where they made the playoffs and got off to a hot start, that was still the case. And it's interesting because this is a guy that's worked with Pat Mahomes. He, as you said, worked with Caleb Williams at USC and tried to actually get the head job at Chicago. That was his first option. but they actually decided no and went elsewhere. So hence why he came to Washington, and Dan Quinn had selected him for this role. So you can see how that dynamicness of this offense really works, and considering the similar comparisons of Arizona when they had that year in the playoffs and how dynamic they were with Murray, and then they had like Hopkins when he was still a very very good receiver. So it's very interesting, and yes, is it potentially the master meets apprentice sort of game? We've seen the Ravens with what they've been with Lamar Jackson and now with Jaden Daniels, and it's funny how probably the three best offensive rookies so far have probably been the three guys that completely dominated at the college level last year, which is probably Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is, and this game will be. It'll be there's so many wrinkles to it because the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, we know what he's done. It's pretty obvious quarterback. He's playing lights out, and I feel bad for the Cleveland Browns fans just last week and when they played against each other, the Browns versus Commanders, because the Commanders or the Browns would have seen that and go, that's what Deshaun should be. They would have thought he would have been playing that. And Daniels sat for the whole fourth quarter of that game. So it's just unreal, what he did. But coming into this game, the Washington defense, you can't fault them for what they did against the Browns. I don't care. It's against the Browns. It's still a professional team. They held the Browns to 1 of 13 on third down. That's you can't ask your guys to do anything more than that. So it's really impressive. Their defense has started to step up, and you'll see this with a lot of times with defenses, and especially Dan Quinn defenses, is that it takes a little while for teams to get the verbiage to understand exactly what he wants and what he's expecting of them. And once they do get it, they'll take a big jump, and they seem to starting to hit their stride defensively. Now, are they going to be elite or no? But they don't need to be elite. Even if they're just mediocre, if that offense still keeps humming along like it is, which that's a tall ask, but if that offense still is a top 5 offense and the defense is mediocre, they're going to win the East. The way every other team in the NFC East is playing, the Commanders have the best odds now, in my opinion. So it'll be really interesting just to see this Baltimore run game going up against this Washington defense. That's going to kind of be the game within the game is what I'm looking forward to.
And it's interesting because over the last 3 weeks, these are the two best teams offensively on third down. The Ravens have been so good rush defensively, but they've been so bad pass defensively. So it's so weird that they've had that sort of that range with their defense. I think with this one, I don't think their pass defense stays as bad as it has for this long. I think at some point, the Harbaugh effect is going to kick in, and they're going to sort themselves out defensively, and try and get themselves better, so to speak, with their new DC. So I think with this one, it's a big line. It is actually a big line. I think it's 6.5.
6.5 to the Ravens.
That's a huge line.
6.5, and I think most people would probably be taking the Commanders, but I do think this is probably going to be a game where Washington are probably going to have just sort of a come down to earth sort of match where I think there's going to be some things that don't go right for them. And I think defensively, even though they see Jaden Daniels every week and every day in training, Lamar Jackson is still the best at what he does, even out of the two. So I think this is probably where the Ravens, I think, are going to continue their run. And I actually do think they are going to cover as well.
Okay. All right.
6.5 over under at 52.5. Oh, it's huge. It's a lot. I don't know. I kind of like the Commanders in this. Commanders' offense has been impressing me, and I think that their defense isn't too bad either. They've only allowed an average of 23 points a game. on defense. So it's still like yeah.
Brad, if
I'm leading Commanders a bit more.
Brad, if they lose this week, the Commanders, do you still think they're in? Like if they don't cover, let's say they lose by 2 scores,
Yeah.
do you still think they're in the box seat for the East?
I do, simply because the Eagles haven't shown me anything. I think the Cowboys are realistically, I think the Cowboys are going to win 7-8 games. I think the Eagles maybe 8-9 games, maybe. And I think it's going to be the Commanders to lose. I really do think that, especially with they've got their 10, 15-year quarterback. And Dan Quinn is all roses and unicorns and rainbows. And that works with certain teams. And it's definitely working with this team. So now it'll come down to the adjustments. Because I say it all the time, but the NFL it's a season of almost like quarters. You break it up into 4 distinct parts. And your teams have to make adjustments. They have to evolutionize everything that they're doing, because they're so good at collecting data and tendencies, and you have to be able to go against type and all that kind of stuff. So it just depends. And I think Kingsbury has learned a lot from his previous experience. So I still do, see them as being in the driver's seat.
All right, on to game number 2. The 3-2 Green Bay Packers welcome in the 2-3 Arizona Cardinals. Both teams coming off wins in Week 5. The Packers over the Rams 24-19. It was pretty almost hard-fought win, but yes and no. The Cardinals, one of the most surprising wins.
Who the Cardinals beat, Nick?
Yeah, one of the most surprising wins of Week 5, with a 1-point win over the 49ers, 24-23, because an interception of Brock Purdy right at the end that seals the deal there, rather than the Niners going on a game-winning run, which they definitely should have been. Going to be a very, very interesting matchup between these two teams.
Yeah, I think it will be. The thing about the Cardinals is they ended up with decent run stats, and it was against the 49er defense, so you got to give it to them. But it was all second half. Their first half, they didn't look that great with the run, and I don't think you can win games long term in the NFL by just being able to run the ball for a half. I think you got to be much more consistent with your run game. And frankly, I wasn't that impressed with the Cardinals' run game. They got the win, but they also got 3 turnovers in that second half. So hats off to the defense, but that's not a normal thing to do. You're not going to get 3 turnovers in a half, and I think that was the difference in the game. I don't know how many points they got off those turnovers, but that was pretty significant. So I'm not that high on the Cardinals right now, to be honest with you. I'm definitely higher on the Packers than I am the Cardinals.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm higher on the Packers as well, considering they are at home. I think at least what Green Bay do have, I'm not sure if Watson and Dobbs will be back this week, but if they are, I really do like that line of 5.5 then. I think that they're a team that can also run the ball, but I think defensively this year they've been a little bit more consistent than what we have in terms of with the run and with the pass. And I also think that situationally, I think the Packers take out that sort of that Vikings game, because obviously there wasn't very much opportunity for them to be able to convert in situational type games. But they've been a team that's been able to, even though they got out to a lead and the Rams did something at the end, they've been able to be quite better this year, I think, in closer games. So I think the Packers at home, and I think that the Heat. I know that the Cardinals would be used to it because they're in the desert, but the heat from that game was amazing, and
Yeah.
it was like 100, got over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm wondering if that will take a toll this week defensively for them, because I do agree with you, Brad. That defensively, they weren't that special.
Yeah. So, well, and I think with the Packers, they thank goodness they have Xavier McKinney, because without that guy, I don't know if they win that Rams game. So he had 2 turnovers, and I think they both led to 14 points. So he's been the best offseason signing, free agent signing, I think, of any team, you could argue. He's been lights out. So I think you're right. If they get the rest of those guys back on that Packers defense, that could make a huge difference. So Jordan Love, he started out kind of rocky, but then he picked it up and did well later in the game. So I think he still has only played was this his second game back or something since game 1? So
Yeah, second.
yeah. So he's still, in my opinion, still finding his feet. People think, he's a veteran quarterback. Yeah, but he didn't play for 3 years. He's still learning the game in terms of it's just one of those things where it takes multiple years. You can't just switch it on. So, and again, teams are gathering data and they're forcing him into doing against what he likes to do, forcing him to go to his weaknesses. So it's a good matchup. I think it's an even matchup, but I am leaning, being at home, I'm going Packers and the points.
Yeah, same.
All right. I think we may have lost Ian with his audio. Are you there, Ian?
Sort of. Yeah. Hey,
Oh, there we go. He's back.
there we go. Yeah. Look, I am too. Stats wise, the Packers' rush defense has been terrible, but we know that the Arizona Cardinals are mainly just a passing team at this point. That's where they do the bulk of their offense goes through the passing game, as it would when you've got Kyler Murray and you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. I would expect probably maybe a little bit more out of James Conner and Kyler Murray this week on the ground, because the Packers' rush defense has been so bad. But I am still leading Packers. They have dominated teams far better, or matched up against them far better, at least. So, I'd still be leading Packers. Lions at Cowboys. Brad, do you want to start us off a little bit on this and save my weird, wacky audio today?
Yeah, sure, no worries. Here we go. Let's hope we have as an exciting repeat as last season. Last time the Cowboys met in Dallas, we had came down to a 2-point conversion, and Dan Quinn called a funky play, and I think it was Eric Decker or one of their right tackle, or the tackle wasn't right tackle because that's Solomon, or anyway. They got a flag on the tackle. Then
Penei Sewell.
Penei Sewell. Thank you very much. You know all the offensive linemen.
Yeah, the important people.
That's right. And so that there was a flag on that, so then they had to do it again. And then the second time they did the 2-point conversion, there was a penalty on the Cowboys, so then they go for it a third time, and of course they don't get it on the third time. But there was a lot of controversial plays leading up to all that. It was an exciting game. So the NFL can only hope that this game is that exciting. As a Cowboys fan, I don't think it's going to be. I think the Lions are still going to have a little bit of a bitter taste in their mouth given what happened last year, and they're coming off of a bye. The Cowboys are coming off of a dramatic physical win against Pittsburgh. So it's, to me, this has all the earmarkings of a good old fashioned wallop. So I think the Lions are going to pull the Cowboys' pants down and spank them hard. So it's going to be an interesting game, but frankly, I don't think it's going to be that close. I'm not sure what the line is on it.
The Lions are favoured.
Yeah.
They are at 3.
Oh, 3 points? That's it?
Three.
Oh, I'm taking the Lions all day on that. I'm putting that's my 5-star. I'll tell you right now, that's my 5-star lock of the week. So, Jiminy Christmas, 3 points. You take the Lions and you go. Well, no, I'm not going to say anything irrational because we just do betting recommendations for fun. But I knew a guy who actually he sold his car to place a bet.
No.
I kid you
How'd
not.
it go?
No.
I kid you not. Here in Australia, he sold his car to make a bet, and he ended up winning the bet.
Wow.
And I asked him, I said, well, so what happened? And he was like, oh, well, 2 years later, I was out. I'd given it all back. So I don't recommend.
He didn't even replace his car.
I don't. No, he didn't. He's like, oh, it was a piece of crap anyway. So.
Oh, God.
That was my first introduction to Australians and their betting. I was like, wow, these people take it serious. So,
Nick, how are you feeling about this game?
Man, I'm not as confident in picking the Lions as what Brad is. I do think there's been this sort of funk that the Cowboys have been in at home. Like they shouldn't be. Like in recent years, they've been so good at home in the regular season, and to be 0-2 so far, I think this is going to be something where, particularly, I don't know, as we said on the previous show, I don't know. There's just something about this win that they had at Pittsburgh, and I know Pittsburgh might not be a great team this year, but at least Pittsburgh defensively in Pittsburgh, and they came away. Offensively they didn't play too well, and they were able to get up, and Dak was able to lead them down and win it. But the only thing that concerns me is I would have actually opted with the Cowboys at 3.5 if the Lions weren't coming off a bye. I think with the bye, Dan Campbell, offensive coaches, their records coming off the bye and into the following game are astronomically good. So I think with this one, they'll be able to run the ball well. Goff's coming off a perfect game, quite literally.
yeah.
And are Dallas going to be able to run the ball? We'll see. But the Lions so far have been quite good with their rush defense. So I'm not as confident as Brad, but I will be taking the Lions to lay the points.
I like what Dallas is real quick. I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but I like what Dallas really did with their run game last week. They, instead of going a lot of this zone style cutback, they don't have the horses for it. They don't have the backs for it. So they just turned into a little bit of a. I felt like they found their identity, and they almost went so simple as like going duo. Duo to the average listener is just you're creating 2 double team blocks, and then you're peeling one of the guys is peeling off to the second level, getting a linebacker, and it's a real smash mouth kind of in your face style running, and it's the NFL of the 2000s, and I liked it. I think if they do that, if they can run the ball like they did last game, then they might have a chance. I just don't see him being able to run that well against Hutchinson and the rest of the guys for the Lions.
Great matchups to look forward to in Week 6. If you've got any games that you are looking forward to in Week 6, we would love to hear about them. You can hit us up on our socials. You'll find all the links at the Aussie Gridiron Network mothership, linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. You'll find all of our links to our socials, the Aussie NFL Fantasy Boys socials, Manjot, his Pastry Press NFL on Instagram and YouTube, where he does Aussie Gridiron Today, and you also find the feeds for our podcast as well. So hit us up on our socials. Let us know what games you're looking forward to this week and who you think might be doing well or who might not be doing well. Right now, we are going to talk about some betting.
We're having a punt, having a slap, just having some fun, and then making some scratch. It's the Gday Gridiron's bloody best bets.
Yes, it is. G'day Gridiron's bloody best bets for week 6. We are heading into an interesting week. I am heading downhill again, voice-wise. So, Nick, actually, I'll just kick off. I don't have a lot of bets this week, but I will point out that last week I did go 2 from 3. And 2 of the best bets that I actually had, Brock Bowers. By the time I put on my Brock Bowers anytime TD bet last week, which was while I was watching the Vikings Jets game early Monday morning, Brock Bowers anytime TD had blown out to $4.40, and of course
Jeez.
Brock Bowers came home clutch in a massive game. So he got me a bag, and my DeAndre Swift over 53.5 was easily, he walked it in over 53.5. So I'm going to gloat for those 2. I don't have a lot for this week. Like I said earlier, probably going to be looking for a little bit of James Conner, I think, against the Green Bay Packers. I'll see what that shapes out to be. But I honestly haven't had a lot of time to look at betting yet because of going away and just this general sickness. I don't want to even look at my phone. So, Nick, how did you go and what have you got?
2 out of 3, so I'm sticking at a record of 66% overall, so fairly consistent. Still, Dak Prescott screwed me again. He screwed me in the Giants game, then he got me on that drive, fuck. Anyway.
Once bitten, twice shy, Nick.
That's it. So I'm not doing any more Cowboys games. So, this week, I have gone all teams again, all team games, so I am going, and this is probably the one I'm most confident with, I'm going Tampa Bay to lay the points at 2.5, going to New Orleans. New Orleans has been a good team at home, but Derek Carr has picked up a rib injury, so we don't know if he's actually going to play. So 2.5, I think, is going to be quite good, because potentially if he's ruled out, that number's going to go up. Either way, if he does play, he's going to be playing with some soreness. I think Tampa has been quite good all round this year, and they'll be able to move the ball quite well, like the Chiefs did earlier in the week. Then I've got another divisional game, so the Chargers at Denver, but I'm actually going the total points under 35.5. Between these 2 teams, I think there's only been one game where a team has played in a match where the total points was over that 35.5, and I think that was when I think Denver had played. I can't remember who they had played. It was at Tampa Bay potentially. So both these teams don't score very many points. Both quite good defenses as well. So it should be a low-scoring game that I think the Chargers will get up with in Denver. But I will be taking the under with the total points. And finally, Indy -1.5 at Tennessee. Even though Tennessee is coming off a bye, I reckon Indy should still be able to cover either a healthy Anthony Richardson, but even if they roll out with Joe Flacco, I actually do think there'll be a lot more sustainable in their sort of offense. Potentially Jonathan Taylor coming back as well, so that 1.5, even though on the road, should be enough to cover to beat the Titans. And hopefully we're back to 3-3 this week.
All right.
Brad, how are the Fun Police picks going for this week?
Well, let's just see. Brees Hall was my pick last week to go under 53 yards, 53 and a half yards. Smashed it. He only got like 20 some odd yards. CJ Stroud, I will admit, I took the under on him at 275 yards. Did not. And he ended up with over 300 yards.
Yeah, 330. So
Yeah, right. So did not do well on that one. But my favorite one, Jacoby Brissett. You guys mocked me, but I said take the over at 159 yards. What does Jacoby do? He completes a pass at the end of the game and gets me 160 yards. Thank you very much. So I ended
squeaked it in. Squeaked it
Oh
in.
man, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that. It's he had an amazing game to give me the win. So I go 2-1 last week, which I'll take it. Now, as far as my bets this week, you guys already heard my Stone Cold 5-star guaranteed lock it up in the bank pick. That is the I'm taking the Lions at 3.5. Right now they're paying $2, so I'm heavy on that one personally. So and then for my other two picks this week. One of them I like. It's just
we're going to call that Brad's sell your car pick.
No, Ian. I was relaying a story. I didn't sell the car, or air quotes, my friend.
No, that's your lock of the week. That's Brad's sell your car. It's the lock of the week.
Jeez.
You're going to be going for a lot of cars this year.
You're just laying the groundwork to come back. I want this to be the tagline, for the opener next week. Brad,
if I was more active on actually doing our social media posts, I'd be definitely making a social media post with you selling a car.
I love it.
Just lock it up.
Have I got a deal for you? Exactly. Oh gosh. The the one I'm going with, this is a fun pick. So you call me the fun police because I'm always picking the unders. Well, guess what? I'm picking the over this week. So on specifically the Commanders versus the Ravens. This is just too juicy. I think both of these teams have just been playing at a breakneck pace, the offenses. There hasn't been a game in which the Ravens have not scored at least 20 points. And so it's just... I think Washington, they're playing lights out. They've scored 114 points in their last 3 games, and 2 of those games were even on the road. Defense is just having a hard time figuring out Jaden Daniels. He's completed almost 80% of his passes. He's thrown a touchdown in each of those games. He's had a couple rushing touchdowns. So I think you've got Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson 2 essentially playing. So I'm actually taking the over at 52 points in this game, which it's kind of fun.
Wow.
But yeah, I know. That's a high over, but I think it'll be good. And then the one game that I think is intriguing, I'll say it depends on the quarterbacks, but specifically I'm talking about the Colts versus the Titans. If Anthony Richardson comes back, then I'm and if Will Levis comes back, I'm taking the under. But if they go with their backups, if they go with Flacco and Rudolph, I wouldn't lay the bet. I wouldn't do this bet. And that's simply because I think the backups were playing better than Richardson and Rudolph. But you've seen, even though Rudolph got the win, he came in and he played really well for the Titans. And I think they should switch. But Callahan, head coach, has just said that he's their guy. And, I mean, they had, 31 points with Rudolph there. And Tennessee hadn't scored more than 17 points with Levis. So but yet somehow they're a better team with Levis. So you go figure that one out. But if the backups are playing, so if it's then I'm not doing the bet. But if it's Richardson and Levis, then I'm taking the under at 42.5.
Yep. Well, Steichen said essentially the same thing about the Colts, that they're sticking with Anthony Richardson. But I mean, look what happened. That Flacco's come in the last 2 games.
Yeah. Well, at least with Richardson, there's the potential. He's had so much limited experience playing quarterback. I can see why. And the guy is a freak, and some of the throws he does is just phenomenal. But with Levis, he's Tannehill but worse. It's just I don't get it.
Yeah, it's interesting with Richardson. Yeah, I'm wondering, particularly if they do try, because he was going to come back in last week and they sort of didn't rush him to come back. So it'd be interesting to see with Joe Flacco playing so well, because Richardson's struggled quite a bit. So I wonder if they.
It's almost like just start the game with Richardson, and if he goes poorly, you put Flacco in, kind of like to say, okay, that's what you did. Here's how I would do it. So it's that kind of learning opportunity. Like, okay, you did that. Nah, it was right and it was wrong, but here's how Joe would do it. You know?
Yeah, Joe's just sitting on the sideline saying, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
They
go runs for 21 yards at like 18 mile an hour. Like, where did that come from, Joe? Where did that come from?
Yeah. Speaking of running fast, did you guys see that Monday night play? The game, the Colleen, whatever his name, the big 350-pounder Saunders for the team.
For the Saints.
For the Saints, he intercepted Mahomes in the end zone.
And then took it out instead of taking the touchback.
If the listeners have not seen this, they have to go and watch this clip, because the dude runs it 36 yards out of the end zone. They said, I saw the stat. It said he's the third fastest speed. Get this stat. Third fastest speed by a ball carrier who weighs over 320 pounds.
That's a real ESPN stat, that one.
What a stat. What a stat.
It's a next-gen stat.
That is a next-gen stat for sure. Oh, mate. And on that bombshell, that's been the best bets for week 6. Oh, my God. And as always, the betting information on Gday Gridiron is provided for informational and entertainment purposes only. There are absolutely no guarantees that any tips we provide will provide success or profit. All sports tips provided are our opinions, and punters are encouraged to use this information in order to form their own opinion about the outcome of any sporting event. Bet at your own risk and always consider what you could lose before placing a bet.
Especially a car.
Thank you very much for joining us this week for Week 6 previews. As I said earlier, you can find everything to do with the Aussie Gridiron Network at linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. Please visit that and follow us and interact and just make our lives enjoyable and fun. While these two guys' teams are losing, and mine's on a bye for, week 6 since we're 5-0. Apart from that, on behalf of Brad, Nick, and myself, thank you very, very much for listening. We will catch you on the other side of week 6 for overreactions and G'day AI top 5 storylines coming out of that week. See you later.
The Gday Gridiron podcast is brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, a network of gridiron content made by Australians for Australians. Check out our other programs, the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, No Huddle Dynasty, and Pastry Press NFL. And don't forget to like and follow us and the whole of the Aussie Gridiron Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Pastry Press on YouTube.